Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fail with Fire. I am your podcast host, Phoenix Haw, and I'm CEO of AdBeacon. So, of course, this is a AdBeacon powered podcast. And I'm so excited for our next guest because the premise of this entire podcast is to talk about the failures and the fires behind our failures that became catalysts to incredible things. I want to introduce legends, and one of the legends is our guest today. And the reason why is a lot of you might feel like you need to achieve X goal and don't realize the shit that's coming your way and the things that are going to happen to you. And these people that I'm bringing on are very raw, very real. And Sean Mulkeen is no different. I just want to introduce Sean. Sean and I met at Affiliate World Dubai. We're talking, and again, another experience of me not knowing his title, me not knowing anything about Sean other than just Sean being Sean, which I love. But on top of that, what I will say is this man has been in the industry for over 20 years. He's been doing a lot of crazy things, especially with AI specifically. I believe that it was, and I'll let him speak to it. I believe it's an overlay or an extension over the Facebook ads manager right now with AI to optimize, which I am all for. I think I want to talk to him about some of the accolades and things that he sees that were at his height and let him describe it. But I will tell you from my experience, I sat down with Sean and I loved everything he had to say. But I think what really kind of put the sparkle in my eye was when we were sitting in Dubai and there was one particular panel that still rings in my ears. I ran home. I told everybody about it, and it was the AI panel. And everything you guys said was so incredibly awesome. So if you don't have the rerun of Affiliate World Dubai, like please go get it, because that was absolutely insane between you, Jason Active, Van Oaks, who by the way, Van's going to be on here. Jason's going to be on here. All those guys. But it was absolutely incredible. But anyway, welcome, Sean.
Thank you.
Before we even dive in, I want you to kind of walk me through, if we were at a barbecue, how would your mom or dad describe what you do?
Yes. Good question. They still ask me the same stuff today, 20 years later. My mom is no longer with us, but my dad would say, he's doing something online. He hasn't been arrested. And he never asked the family for money. That's kind of the blurb that would come out of the family. My brother would say the same thing. My toast at my wedding was, can anybody tell me what my brother does for a living? And it just got a roar of applause, but again, no answers. So I've kind of stopped trying to explain to any of my family or my friends from back home what I do for a living. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't really matter it doesn't really matter anymore, I guess.
I love that. What would you say just to counter that, because I love that obscurity, right? You could sell feet pics on the internet and no one would even know the difference, but it doesn't matter because you never asked for money and you do things on the internet and you're not in jail. But that being said, what are some accolades you would say that people would be like, ooh, shiny?
Accolades. As again, I've been in the space for 20 plus years. Most of the guys that know me for the 20 years that I've been around, know me as Mr. Entertainment Book. That was kind of my claim to fame in the space. With the first company that I founded, I did email brokering, and I got very lucky with an introduction to the agency that had the Entertainment Book exclusive, which was, that 400-page coupon book that was sold by Girl Scouts and whatnot. Oh, I had all the online rights to that for about 5 years. And it was only selling about 600, 700 books a month. And they decided to give it to me for 60 days. And if I did better, they would give me the exclusive. And I sold about 7,000 books a month. And it was just people emailing it. They had no idea this channel even existed.
Wow.
So for quite a while, probably between 2002 and 2010, that was my nickname in the space, Mr. Entertainment Book. And then I just got bored with it, as any entrepreneur does. They get bored with things and want to do something different. And it was very North American focused. I wanted to do something that was more international. So I moved on from it.
Okay. That's awesome. That's super awesome, because I didn't even know that. And that is your claim to fame, Mr. Entertainment Book. I don't think I'm going to call you that. I think I'm going to still call you Sean, but I'm here for it.
Good.
I know. Yeah, you're welcome. I know you were talking to my sister too when we were in Dubai. My sister's a naturopathic doctor, and she initially gravitated towards you and Mark Joyner because both of you kind of go in that direction as well, which I love. And then I know that you just recently moved from the Netherlands. How was that move?
I'm in process. If you saw the other side of my screen right now, I'm staring at about 80 boxes. Um, my stuff officially leaves my house tomorrow, and I'll be relocated in about a month.
See, it's interesting how regulation, things that happen within a geographic area will start to move nomads, aka entrepreneurs, in one place to another. I have a lot of friends that do business in Dubai, right? Because of taxes, et cetera. Is that what ended up happening in the Netherlands?
No, because I never want to say unfortunately, but it's the best word I can come up with. I'm American, so it doesn't matter where I live. I'm still strapped down with that tax basis because of the states, but the Netherlands is pretty high on taxes, and they're kind of moving in the direction of non-self-employment. And it was just time for something new. I've been here for 13 years. I want to see something else.
Okay. Well, hopefully, where are you moving back to the States or no?
No, I'm moving to Ireland.
Thank you. I'm gonna come. We're hoping to go to Ireland for our honeymoon, so maybe I'll like stop by unannounced, annoy the shit out of you, and talk about AI. But that
You're
being
welcome.
said,
Yeah.
so good. That being said, I kind of want to just go straight into failures, and the reason why is I think there's this like really interesting culture that we have that it's kind of shifting, thank God. But it's this culture and this idea that we should always talk about how much money we're making, where we were, where we're going, and where we're at. Um, you know, almost validating a reason for someone to speak to you, which I think is just absolutely grotesque. That's just not how life goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, in order for you to get to where you are, the Sean Mulkeen that is on stage, main stage at Affiliate World, is entertainment book guy. There were a lot of failures that were in your timeline. What would you say is a failure that you would like to highlight and you want to share? And we can kind of just.
I got fired from my first job out of university. It kind of was, and I got fired for not holding my tongue and and speaking my mind and not kissing the ring. And that has stayed with me, however, and that's gotten me in a lot of trouble over the last 20 years, but at least I always knew my ethics were in line. And that kind of taught me early on, even though I didn't realize it till later, that I didn't really want to work for a company. I wanted to work with a company or have a company that people worked for instead.
Mhm.
I didn't love authority. So my low point, my biggest crash probably lasted about 6 hours. Because after I got fired from the job, I went to a barbecue for July 4th and then just decided, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. So I actually took one more job to kind of learn on what they were doing in the internet space. That's where I learned about email brokering. And then left that after 9-10 months and picked up all my stuff, moved to Chicago and started my first company. So it was good that I got fired. It wasn't my proudest moment when I was 23 years old, but, it was kind of embarrassing why I was fired, but if that hadn't happened, then who knows where I would be. So yeah.
It's my job to test you on this podcast, right? It's my job to push you. What did you do? Embarrassing.
This is why it's embarrassing, but the karma on it's pretty good. I was looking to move to Chicago. I was living in upstate New York at the time. I was looking to move to Chicago. My old man lived in Chicago, and I was top dog on my team, so I had extra time. So I would call my father from work. And this is back in the time where I know companies still care about this shit nowadays, but they didn't want no personal calls from work, even though I was done with my work. So they were looking to make an example out of me. And because I didn't hold my tongue and I kind of called out the boss of the company quite a few times because he was lying to the rest of the staff.
What'd you say?
Well, he would always say, the more work you do, the more money you make. And I said, that's bullshit because there's a defined pie and you have 15 people just trying to grab for the biggest piece. So there's no more money. Everybody could have a killer month and still make less money than he made the month before. If I said that once, twice, he kind of shrugged it off. After I started saying it every day for a couple of weeks, I think he was looking for a reason to move me on. Hindsight 2020, it didn't work out so well for him because he was kind of a lunchtime warrior. We won't get into more details. And that got reported back to HR and he lost his job as well. But again, that point for me, not holding my tongue and kind of having very unorthodox with how strong my ethics were. So, um, yeah, that's how I started off in the workforce. Yeah.
That's not you holding your or not holding your tongue to me. To me, that's just you being honest and real. Like I think
Yeah.
the best thing you could possibly be is honest, right? I love the lunchtime warrior reference.
Mm.
I have the same issue. Like you and I don't like authority. I'm seeing that as well. Just people in the space is like when you're being told no and it doesn't make sense. There's this idea, right? Like make it make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then we're not going to feel good. We're going to push up against it. So most of the time we don't work for people. And if we work for people, it's usually with people. And it's like alignment. Alignment is key. And I love that you said ethics is like the big, big part of why and what drives you. But what's really funny is like I resonate with that so much because I never held my tongue. And then when you made that quote, by the way, you were saying, he said, the more work you do, the more money you make.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw the Affiliate World promo they did on me, but that was the question they asked me was, do you
Oh,
believe that the more work you do, the more money you'll make? And I said, no, the more efficient you work, the more money you'll make. And where you spend your time and what motivates you is key. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And Lunchtime Warriors, I actually got my entire job based off of people doing subpar work and us pushing what that barometer is of good work up. And then it ended up pushing everyone out and everyone hated me. So my problem is every job that I had, actually people don't like me. So I have a full enemy list, not for the reasons that you would think, but because like that freaking chick, like she sucks. She always makes life harder. But when I came into the D2C space, and I love hearing your story, I realized, no, it's not a me problem. It's an everybody else problem. And the people that pushed what that threshold looked like are the ones that thrive. So would you agree with that?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, I definitely was kind of the black sheep as far as how business should work. And kind of, I always thought I was rubbing people the wrong way because of how I'd approached work and whatnot. And at the end of the day, it's kind of the 80-20 rule with everything else. 80% of the people are just happy they have a job and a paycheck. I kind of want to find a different way to work things and a different way to, I guess, live. Um, and to most people, that seemed odd and out of line. But it seemed to work okay, and it was more comfortable for me.
Okay. So you said that was a failure of yours is getting fired, but were there any
Yeah.
moments where you felt like you lost everything? It could be a monetary situation, or you could feel like, in your
Mm.
personal life, you did share that you lost your mom. And I'm sorry for that because I understand it's tough. It's like there's all these things that are crashing down on you. And whatever a quote unquote failure is, like what gave you the fucking fire to come back harder, to do the things you wanted to do your way?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I'd say I almost lost my family because of too much dedication to work. Um, when I had to network with the co-founder, we were working 18 hours a day. I was on a plane half of every month all over the world, trying to close business. And at some point, once I had my first newborn arrived, I was barely around. I barely saw my first daughter for the first 2 years that she was around. Uh, that came kind of to a crashing point with a phone call and a very distinct email saying, if you're not home tomorrow, we're going to run into some issues. And I dropped everything I had and hopped on the first plane and flew halfway across the world to kind of try to remedy that before it got even deeper. Um, I was kind of blind. I wasn't blinded by money. I wasn't blinded by extracurricular activities or anything like that. It was more about just driving the company and putting business up and trying to make something that was worthwhile and for people to be involved in. I just happened to ignore home for a while. And at that point, I just flipped everything around. So there was much more of a balance. I had zero balance before that point.
That's huge. I love that. First of all, your wife sounds like a badass. Like I'm
She
feeling.
is.
I love it.
She is. Yeah.
I love a
Yeah.
strong woman. Strong women they run the world. But
Mhm.
also, it's more telling than I think you recognize when you said that she sent you a very stern email. the fact that your line of communication was email, and I'm sure that there's for it, just says so much more than you realize. I'm like, if I have to get to via email, we have a problem. And it's cool that she communicated that to you very quickly. And, it's funny that you say that. You're like, it wasn't that I was partying. It wasn't extracurricular activities that were distracting you. It was this tunnel vision you had for your vision, like your tunnel vision for the future. And probably what we end up doing, and I did this too, is we start to justify icing everything out for an empire that we're building for the other people that are going to benefit from it. Right. So like, when I was getting my master's and like building this and doing all this stuff, my now fiance, God bless him, he's just like, okay, I'll support you. Which is like a total flip of societal roles, right? Like society says the man leads, which I fully back, but like he's supposed to do this, he's supposed to do that. And meanwhile, I'm over here pushing him in a different direction. And to the point where, I had to take a step back and go, wait a minute, I keep justifying that all of my actions are to help benefit them. But in reality, they don't want to be with me right now because it's not me. I'm not their bank. Because what will end up happening for you, especially, and for me, it's like down the road when we're at the other end of the fire, at the other end of the achievements, now you're just a bank because they've lost who you are. And they don't want that. So
Agreed.
That was a beautiful thing for you to say. Okay. Well, I wanted to kind of bring something to the table a little bit different, which is called our hot take section. And I kind of want to spitfire some hot takes with you. But what would you say right now is your hot take? And I'll tell you mine, but go for it.
My hot take, as far as
anything,
what's going on?
Could be in the industry, it could be in life.
I'm going to get in trouble with saying this. I feel that too much of our space is kind of in a endless circle right now. The same, there hasn't been anything extremely exciting interjected into the space in quite a while. D2C is good and AI is good, but it's not like nobody knew AI was coming.
Right.
And from a good stance and a bad stance, the same players have been circling for the same 5-6 years. I kind of felt like it was kind of this way 10-12 years ago as well, that there really wasn't a lot of movement. And that's why a lot of guys from 10-12 years are still around. And then everybody in between that segment in the last 4 or 5 years, there's nobody from in between that time because, for lack of a better term, they all sucked. And they didn't really add anything to the space. And that's kind of when we went through the whole fraud space of the whole industry, massive fraud. But I think now we're kind of getting into a circle again, and everybody's trying to, put more lipstick on a pig and, make it nicer and act like it's newer and call it something else. But it's not that way. So now it's definitely time to gravitate more towards businesses that are operated well and run by good people, and are risk takers, but they're not putting their clients at risk. Maybe they're taking a risk with their company or the risk with what services they want to offer, but they're not doing a risk with their clients. So that's a positive, but I guess that's one hot take from current viewpoint.
So I'll double you on that, or whatever the fucking gambling words are for it, right? Because I don't gamble, but I guess we do gamble because we're in advertising. But I would say my hot take is I'm done with the bullshit, and it's basically a very brass way of what you just said. And it's time for the people that need to retire, and it's time for the new people to come in and also lead with efficacy. And what I've seen in the space, which was very interesting as a female, I mention this because it's just the obvious. I am a female. I'm going to say it, right? But I'm also not going to wave this flag around and say it's the reason for X, Y, or Z. But what I will say is, as a female in the space, I have a very weird position. I come in and everyone thinks I'm a sales rep. Fine. Because that's usually to be honest. Okay.
Yes, or an affiliate manager.
Let me sell you something. And I listen and I watch the older guys. They're in a place where they're very comfortable in where they are at. They still want to know what's going on, but they're also just not that interested. The fire is gone. They know what they know. They made their millions or whatever. They lost their millions. They made their millions.
Mhm.
And now everybody's grasping at them for some type of advice. And usually they're like 10 degrees separated from what's going on, right? Because they're not
Mhm.
in the ad accounts. They're not actually doing the advertising. They've built the empires, which have, layers down of people actually doing it, which is a beautiful thing. Then you've got the new guys in the space, and there was that in between wave of fraud, right? And then at the very tail end of it is all these guys that are flexing this idea of this lifestyle that you're going to create, which you can, what you can do with that money and just pissing money nonstop. And the way that I see this hot take is the bullshit is from somebody who came from the modeling world, who dealt with beautiful people on the outside and ugly people on the inside. I'm watching a bunch of guys that are just like maybe a normal day 4 think that they're like a DC world 10. And they're like flexing this idea that they can like get anything or anyone because they make money. And I come in here and I watch and I'm like, yeah, this is bullshit.
Mhm.
But people like yourself and people that are going to be on this podcast are those that I've vetted over time and just watched and gone, no, they see more and they want to change what the narrative is. So like there's a lot of guys in the space that will be honest. Like I think something Shaq said a long time ago, which I was really grateful for, is I knew he was joking, but we were all sitting there. It was the first affiliate world and these guys were coming in and everyone's talking about how they flew first class in Emirates
Yeah.
and taking pictures and stuff. And mind you, like, it's fine. And Shaq goes, I'm not rich like you guys. I can't afford like first class. I'm going to be in like business class or economy. And somebody who was new to the space, I like turned my head. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, I like that. I like that there's a reality here. I'll hang out with them because we're all in California and they're like, oh, let's not go out. Let's like save money and like, let's make pizzas at home. That's a beautiful thing. Like, I would much rather hang out with Sean Mulkeen, hanging out, getting a beer, rather than talk about how much money I made this week. Anyway, so that's my hot take. End the bullshit. The new generation needs to retire. The new generation has to step up with the echo of efficacy.
Sure. I agree with everything you said, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We want to hear that. He agreed with me. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I can't stand the flexing in this space has only gotten worse. I can't stand that. If you were in this just to flex money, you could do anything and flex money. And then being in this, especially in a male dominated space where you got 90% of the guys going around and then showing off their Rolexes or their Lambos or something like that. That was never about. And I took it even a level down on, say, travel. I'll travel coach because after Affiliate World Bangkok, I'm going to go hop over to 5 more countries and go check out some new stuff. I'd rather spend my money on that than, overpaying for a bottle in a Thai club, where 3 hours later after we drink it, nobody's going to remember who the hell bought it anyway. That never seemed good to me. And outside of the space or the group that you're doing that event with, nobody gives a shit. But if you say that, after I left Affiliate World, I was camping in a tent in the middle of the steppe in Mongolia and hanging out with a girl who had seen a cell phone for the first time, I'll listen to that. And that's memorable. And that has more value from your money than another bottle of Dom. I never got that side of the space. I had to entertain that side of the space and I had to cater that side of the space because that's what was expected. But you can ask anybody that knows me or has worked for me. As soon as all that stuff was set at the club, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom. And within 10 minutes, I'm already back in my hotel room.
No wonder you're going to Ireland. You Irish goodbye, everybody. Okay.
Indeed.
I won't take it away. I have been on many a table at a club dancing. However, not like that, but yeah, I have a good time. That being said, though, you will never catch me putting my credit card down for a bottle of Dom or whatever it may be, Clase Azul. And I'm trying to like step away from drinking anyway, just because that's the new norm. But, it's a perk of being a chick too. Like I don't have to pay for it, but I watch all these guys and I sit there and I'm like, you're paying so much money to validate who you are in the space. No one cares. But to your point, like some little girl or woman in Mongolia who's seen an iPhone for the first time or a phone for the first time, like that's a level of communication that's so much more. We travel, we have this beautiful place and we have a platform with all these people seeing what we have to say, which by the way, like still so humbling. Like who cares what we have to say, but they do. And what you say has weight, how you present yourself, um how you showcase what should be valued has impact, right? And if you don't take that serious, then you're a fool. And I realized that very quickly when I was at Affiliate World, where all these people were running up to certain people and saying, "Oh my gosh, I watch all your content. I love it." And some people brush them off. And I go, "You have no idea what you just did. You're either going to set a fire to them or they're going to come back and make more money than you and try to demand that you work for them, or they're going to remember you always as being a trash human." And in the end, the only currency, and that'll be my another hot take for you. I believe that the new form of currency is effective communication.
Yeah, I could agree there.
Because like, I think I've always believed this, and you speak well. I saw that panel again. I'm still in awe of it. I don't know if you ever rewatched it, but
No.
fine, fine. You don't rewatch your stuff. Fine. I sat there in the front row. I'm listening to all my peers, all my friends. And then also, you guys are great at what you do. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like even what Mark Joyner was saying in terms of weapons of mass destruction, I'm like, I didn't even think about that. My puny little brain, who by the way will be joining us on this podcast soon. But
Cool.
yeah, you should listen to that one. But yeah, I don't know. Like the reason why we are where we are, I believe, is because we know how to communicate. But there's going to be people there that are so much smarter than us out there. They just don't know how to effectively.
Yeah. But that's part of the challenge. If everybody communicated the exact same way, it would be efficient, but I think it would be dull. I like there to be some sandpaper in the space. And it's kind of the challenge of having to work with people that can't communicate that well and finding a way that you both can kind of find some kind of compromise or some meeting point that it'll push the business through or just push friendship through or something like that. And that's kind of the beauty of the space as well, because everybody's coming from all walks of life. What most people in the space did before they were in the space could be a comedy show, a drama, and a thriller at the same time, because everybody comes from so many different walks of life. And I always thought that was pretty entertaining, and we almost dulled each other down by now that we're all in the space. But I can't imagine being in another space. The freedom is just too good to pass up.
The freedom and the people are cool. Like as much as we shit on it, and I'm just joking around, the people are cool. I've never been in a space that it was actually more encouraging. Like in the new generation, even the older generation that I've gotten the honor to even meet, everyone's like, "I want to see you thrive. How can I help you?" I just actually got off a call with David Herman. I'm not sure if you know of him. Awesome. And we were saying that, I believe that it is your responsibility if someone gives you a goal. Like, Sean, you tell me, my goal is to live in Bali in 3 years, whatever. I go, okay, as your friend and somebody in the space, how do I get you there? How can I help propel you there without any strings attached? And I truly believe that. And obviously your circle can't be too big because your bandwidth can't be that big, but who it is you support and you push forward. And I think this group of people or this space does that, which is really, really cool. But that being said, I want to kind of just round us out at the very end here. If, for example, somebody came up to you, or I teach at a university, and all these kids that come through, they have this fictitious idea of what their salary needs to be, what their first job needs to be. D2C looks very, very tempting because, you can make money very quickly, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, all these different avenues. What would be something that you would say to them? If you had one moment or a couple lines, just to say right away.
This is kids coming right out of school.
Correct.
Don't expect too much. Avoid the shiny offer, the shiny object. Go for the background and the experience over the money. that would probably be it. And I'm not a good person to follow the advice of, because I did none of that. I kind of did the opposite, but I wish I would have done that. You can always make money. Money always be there. But if you don't have good relationships and don't have good training or good mentors or whatever, it's going to thin out pretty quick, unless you truly are very entrepreneurial and you're successful and you're lucky. Luck definitely comes into some of this, but yeah, don't let the money be the first thing that makes your decision.
I love that. Don't let the money be the first thing for your decision. That was awesome. I think I would just round this out and say, hey, who can find you, or how can they find you? And we'll do that in a second. But what you said just sparked something. And I think call it a case study, but it's just an experience. And I think you would agree. So I had somebody work for me not too long ago. I love him dearly. I believe in keeping relationships, to what you were speaking to. And he came to me. We weren't able to pay him a lot of money at the time, right? At the time, we're saying, okay, we pay you this base salary, and based off of your growth for these companies, A, B, or C, we had a full plan for him. So if you hit X, Y, or Z metric, you will get a kickback of this, especially during peak, like during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It was a lot of work. It was going to be a lot of work for him to meet that goal. I think it was like $100K for him to make, right? And as a media buyer, if you're a junior, it is a lot of money, actually. Unless you work for yourself, you're not going to see bigger money. So he was like, okay, great. A company before that he had worked at, he left because they had folded or were about to fold, let him go, and he came to us. They randomly called him because they got another round of funding. And they're like, we will pay you $100K, just come back. And I told him, and I sat there with him, and I said, hey, you can do whatever you want. I will always support you and be your biggest fan, but I would suggest you not do that, because what you're going after is the money. And what ends up happening is they get a surge of money, and then they run out of that money. They'll work you to the bone, they'll squeeze you dry of all of your talent. You're exhausted, and then throw you out because they didn't work hard to keep you. Fast forward, he goes, takes the money, as we all would at his age. I think he was like 23. He never went to college, so this was even cooler for him. He called me 4 months later. He's like, hey, I made a mistake. And it hurt me, but I had to be like, sorry, I don't have a job for you. You have to learn your lesson, like mentorship, all those things align. It's a very weird thing. How this is actually something we do in every episode. I'm sorry that I missed this. How much money did you make in your first job?
We're talking Stone Age here. My first job offer, I think, was $28,000 a year.
Hell yeah. 37.5, and I cried.
Yeah.
Cried. You know how much these kids are asking for coming out now?
I would guess 85 plus.
Yeah, what the hell? 85 plus, 100%, like 80 to 85. And they're so casual. I had a conversation with a kid recently, and I was like, what college do you want to go to? And he's like, I want to go to USC. And I'm like, oh shit, that's a very hard college to get into. He's like, yeah. I was like, why do you want to go there? He's like, I just want to make money. And I'm like, hey, do you know how you want to make money? He's like, no. I'm like, motherfucker. Great. And then I was like, why USC? He's like, well, I know that people that go to USC make a lot of money. I was like, well, do you have like a 4.0? Like, what's your GPA? He's like, no. And I'm like, I give up. So the whole point of this podcast is, yes, for people in the space to listen to it and understand, but also like you have to understand the space. If you're coming into it, legends like yourself did not make a lot of money to begin with. We had to grind to understand the value of a dollar, to understand it could go and come as fast, like I said, as it came and went. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to bring forth. Do you have any thoughts behind that? And like the kid that came in, lost everything.
Yeah. You learn, well, that's a good lesson to learn. It's hard because opportunities aren't going to be there all the time. And you definitely take a risk by saying no to stuff. I got lucky and said yes to, working for myself with barely any money in the bank. And then closing down a profitable company to try to start something international with absolutely no backing at all during a financial crisis. But again, I think that's either in your DNA or it's not. And, if that falls on its face, okay, then I'll go get a job and try to put some money in the bank and I'll do it all over again. Luckily, I haven't had to get a real job in almost 22 years, I guess. And that's probably the best achievement, is that I haven't had to get a job for 22 years. So, yeah, hopefully the kid learns and I'll go for experience next time rather than cash.
You did. And we're still really good friends. But I think to your point, you also you have this I won't fail mentality. I can see it in you. So if you have this I won't fail mentality, like you never really, you're going to fail regardless. But this idea to keep driving you forward is what probably didn't give you a quote unquote normal job. But that's a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful you came onto this podcast. So very honored to have you. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Well, next month they can find me in Ireland. Yeah. How do you find me? If you're interested in travel, you find me on Instagram. If I had a little longer hair, the handle would make a little more sense. Abiding Travel Dude. That's probably the best place to find me. Because I'm constantly on there looking at travel stuff. Other than that, yeah, we can slip an email address in there or something like that. But
I got all your handles. Don't even worry about it. So we've got
okay, there you go.
We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook. You can stalk Sean anywhere, and please do.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
It has again been such an honor, and to be able to nab you and say, "Hey," during your move is awesome. I wish you the best. Also, just a heads up, I bought my fiance a square foot of land in Ireland, so when we do visit, just know we're property owners. Just
square foot. Okay, perfect. I'll let him squat on that if he brings some of his wine. So we'll even deal.
Done. For those of you who don't know, Ryan makes wine. He's a winemaker. So I will bring you wine, and we'll just pop it open right on our square foot of land. And you know what, guys? If you work hard enough in D2C, you too could have a square foot of land.
Fair.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. I hope that you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for our next episode.